According to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, the U.S. federal agency that collects and reports information on energy out to the public, in 2014 they state that in the year 2014, the U.S. consumed a total of over 130 billion gallons of gasoline. Now that is a crazy amount of gasoline we're using yearly. Imagine just how much we use daily. You should listen to me today because I'm here to make you all educated consumers in hopes of saving you some money. So as college students, we have a very limited budget, and from this limited budget, we're expected to come up with some money to pay for energy in some form or another. Government regulations are what dictate how much money we're actually spending and on what we're spending this money on. According to Robert Rapier, chemical engineer in 2011, states that California actually has one of the highest gasoline prices in the United States based on the fact that California has very high fuel specifications. As you become a more educated consumer, you are more informed to make votes, and then thus you can influence how much money we're actually going to spend. So in my speech today, I'm going to talk to you guys about hydraulic fracturing, more commonly known as fracking. There are 3 things I will discuss. First, I will teach you a little bit of the origin of fracking. Second, I will go into the process of fracking. And third, I will go over some of the environmental concerns and controversies surrounding fracking. So in order to get a proper background of fracking, we're going to look into a little bit of why fracking came to be. According to Steve Jewell, chemical engineer with a BA in chemical engineering in 2011, states that fracking actually came to be in the United States in the year 1947. This was a time where many oil wells were located throughout the U.S. However, they were actually performing poorly. So they needed to come up with a way to simulate the flow of gas and oil in these wells. Well, as this was a very experimental era, they first decided to try out explosives. And things such as dynamite and TNT were used in hopes of stimulating the flow of gas. Well, the dynamite actually ended up rubberizing the rock, and it actually led to many mechanical failures as the rock would get stuck in the borehole, so it actually ended up being less aid and more costly, you could say. So instead, these drillers that worked at the oil wells decided to try out a form of fracturing the rock, which would then, they hoped, would stimulate the flow of gas. And thus, that is how fracking was born. And fracking was not only a more easy process to use than dynamite, being that these drillers had water and gases and other things that are needed for fracking readily accessible to them, but it also led to more predictable results as there wasn't all these mechanical failures going on. And now the U.S. stands as the primary country to use fracking as a means to obtain oil, followed directly behind the UK. So now that we looked into a little bit of the background of fracking, we can now actually look into the process of fracking. According to Andrea Kostakis, a PhD in law and a practice in environmental law, he states that fracking actually has to deal, or essentially deals with the extraction of hydrocarbons, more commonly known as methane gas, from shale formations, and shale is a type of sedimentary rock. These shale formations are located kilometers below the Earth's surface. In order to reach these shale formations, drillers must drill directly down or vertically to reach the formation. And once you reach the shale formation, being that it is very thin, it is necessary to drill horizontally to extract the most shale gas that you can in that way. Once all the shale gas that can be extracted from horizontal drilling is extracted, there still remains a significant amount of shale gas within the formation, within the pores of the shale formation. In order to access this gas, this is where the fracking comes in. So high pressurized fluids are drilled into this shale formation, and it is therefore, these fractures allow the gas to escape freely out the well and can then be harvested. So now that we looked into the process of fracking, we can look and discuss some of the environmental factors or controversies of fracking. According to Steve Weinhold, a member of the Society of Environmentalist Journalism, in 2014, he states that there has been an increase in reports that fracking actually might be contaminating water. In Pavilion, Wyoming, in 2011, there was a case in where the people that lived in that surrounding area actually lived near a fracking site, and they complained about foul-tasting water. They tested the water and found that there were chemicals in the water that were similar to the chemicals that were being used in the fracking process. So this went to trial, according to the Congressional Digest, a monthly publication that quotes or cites the Environmental Protection Agency, the U.S. federal agency responsible for protecting human health in the United States, in 2012, stating that this trial actually was found, led to mistrial because the EPA was conducting research that wasn't scientifically sound, and the fact that they were not consulting the right people who actually knew what chemicals were already present in the land prior to this fracking site being built. Additionally, there has been growing concerns that fracking is actually increasing the seismic activity in surrounding areas of fracking sites. According to John Smith, a seismologist in 2013, he states that in Oklahoma, a state where there typically are no earthquakes, after having built a fracking site in Prague, Oklahoma, there was a report of a 5.6 magnitude earthquake, which is quite a big earthquake considering the fact that no seismic activity had been reported prior. And but despite all this, Smith previously qualified states that there's no direct scientific link actually stating that hydraulic fracturing is the cause of this fracking. But if you go ahead and look over here, this is just an overall view of Oklahoma as a state. And you can see that in 2009, there were only reports of 38 earthquakes of a 2.5 magnitude or greater. But then once you get to last year, 2014, it is over 780. So although there is no scientific evidence, it is, at this moment, it is, you could say, just coincidence. So today, I talked to you guys about hydraulic fracturing, known as fracking. There were 3 things I discussed. I talked about the history of fracking. Second, I covered the process of fracking. And lastly, I went over some environmental concerns regarding fracking. So now when you guys are at the gasoline station pumping your gas, you have a better understanding of how we obtain most of our gasoline and are more informed. So come election day, you can all vote and have more information and can influence how much we're actually going to spend on this gas.